In today's video, we're going to talk through some pretty interesting news that Beckett and PWCC dropped this morning regarding an express grading service that I think you all should be a little bit excited about. There are some elements there, though, that not a lot of people are talking about that are a little bit dodgy in my opinion. So we'll get to that in a second. But to give you an update initially, what has essentially happened is that PWCC and Beckett now have a partnership that mirrors the same partnership that PWCC has with CSG. And if you weren't aware, for CSG, what actually happens is you pay $20 to get your card submitted and graded, and then it automatically goes to PWCC and they put it in their weekly auction. Now, this process end-to-end is handled by PWCC. Now they're doing the same thing for Beckett. So what this actually means is you pay $50, you send your card to PWCC, they handle the grading submission process, they send it in, gets graded, then it gets listed on their auction house, and then when the card sells, you owe them, or they owe you the difference over the grading fee. So basically you pay the grading fee back and then you get your money. But this is really cool because it essentially allows you, to get a really expensive grading service from Beckett and have it turned around relatively quickly. And I give you some context. So like I just said, this was $50. To give you some context, their express service is currently $150 a card. Their economy is $35 a card. And this is always subgrades, and you do get subgrades with this PWCC service. So what you're seeing here now is the fact that their express service is 10 to 15 business days. Economy is 90 to 120. So you're basically getting a 10-day business turnaround, 10 business day turnaround. So it's in between premium and express, but you're saving, upwards of $100, upwards of $200 in case if they turn it around relatively quickly. And the benefit of PWCC handling this for you. However, this is just a little bit, there's elements here that are a bit strange in my opinion. I'll give you some more context before we get into that strange element. You can see here the details of how it actually works. Okay, so there's a flat fee. It's $50 a card that they'll pay for, and then you recoup the cost when the card does sell. You don't pay anything up front, like I just said. 10-day turnaround, so Beckett will turn around within 10 days, then PWCC will sell it on your behalf. Subgrades are included. You can do this for as many cards as you want. No paperwork, PWC handle it all for you, like I explained a little bit earlier. And then it goes into their weekly auctions, which is a really good way for you, to bust product, high-end product, as an example, get cards sent in, and then make your money relatively quickly, make it more streamlined, easier for you to manage long-term. Now, the reason why this is a bit strange, and this has come up this was notified to me through Neo Cards and Comics. Okay, if you're not following this guy, please give him a follow. I really don't want to click that because it's a good number, but I'll do it anyway. I'll break it. But basically, he highlighted, and this happens around the 4-minute mark of his video, so please watch the full thing, but the 4-minute mark is the part that I'm about to talk to, is that what people found with the CSG cards, with the same service that they're offering, is that if the card does not sell, and PWCC have a minimum $10 limit, right, or minimum $10 bid, if the card does not sell, PWCC then own your card. You don't get the card back. Now, there's some vagueness around whether or not you actually still own the card or if PWCC owns it. My understanding is that PWCC own it because you're not required, to pay the fee up front. So my understanding is they own the card and they take it off your hands. Now, what has happened based on what Neo says on the blowout card forums is that lots of people are experiencing this with CSG because their price point is so affordable. So people are sending in, cheap cards and then getting burnt and then losing out on their card. And then they have nothing on hand and they still owe PWCC money for the grading service. Now, this is why you need to be very, very careful about what cards you're actually submitting, right? Because you can get burned relatively easy here. Yes, you shouldn't be sending in a card and paying $20 to get it graded or $50 to get it graded if it's not going to sell for $10. However, things happen. Players get injured. Things happen within the market. Something could happen that would mean that your card did not get bid on. There's a few people down in the comments below that, highlight a few things like this individual here where he talks about, yes, you get the opportunity to forcefully forfeit your slab if it doesn't hit the $10 starting bid. It's in their fine print. So what's disappointing here is that it's not on their website, right? You actually need to go into the submission service to see it for yourself. Like the fact that they're not advertising it along with this, in my opinion, is really disingenuous. And I'm not surprised seeing that come from PWCC. It's very clearly intentional. So the reason why it's not put there is because it probably put people off using the service, but it really shouldn't. Be transparent, be upfront. Like, what are you doing, guys? But then there's someone else down here that has a really good point, actually. And he says, well, if I send an expensive card, $1,000 in this instance, and for whatever reason the card doesn't sell, PWCC own it. Neo's like, yes, it does. But he said, like, if a $1,000 card doesn't sell, what are you doing? Well, in this specific instance, you've got a $300 card. What if it doesn't sell? Something might happen and that card does not sell, and then you're out of luck, right? And I don't feel comfortable with that. So please, if you're going to use this service, be very careful with what card you're actually sending in, right? And yes, you should not be getting cards graded that are worthless. And so many people ruined this for us over the last 2 years by sending in base cards and things like that. But like I said, you could send in a high-end card, and for whatever reason, maybe some other people sent in the same card and it doesn't sell, then you're screwed. There are also elements here that I have the same messaging when you guys try and do group submission services with your grading. Unless the card is serial numbered, I do not feel comfortable having somebody else handle my grading process. I do not feel comfortable having someone else, process cards for me. Because how do you know they're not going to switch the card out? Now, from PwC's perspective, okay, and I've talked about this before in the past as well, if there is a thought process that we think there's a threat, maybe to their independence, and when I say independence, I mean them doing the right thing, then you almost have to assume that there's bad things happening, right? Just because there's a perceived threat, just because you think it could occur, it probably means it may occur, or it's a good chance that it could occur. So when you have that perception, I don't feel comfortable doing this. And by that, I mean, how do we know that somebody's not going to swap out the card? And because PWCC can keep the card if it doesn't sell, let's say you get a card and it gets a 10, a BGS 10. And they say that, and they're like, well, actually, this one's not serial numbered. We have, and this is just a random card. We have another one, in the background. We'll just take it out and we'll send that one in, and it gets an 8. Well, hang on, Daniel, your card actually got an 8, didn't get a 10. And because I didn't submit it myself, I'll never know. So with that element being there, and the fact that they can keep your card, how do you know that kind of stuff is not going to happen in the background? I'm not saying, PWCC is doing that. I'm definitely not saying that. But like I said, when you've got that perception that that could occur alongside some of the accusations PWCC have had with, shield beating and all those things associated with eBay, is that the kind of business you want to be going into? So if you go to use your service, my recommendation would be please just use, serial numbered cards and not try and go down this path, because you shouldn't be exposing yourself to unnecessary risk. And just be very careful with this, because like I said, that whole element of them keeping the card as well scares me a little bit. It just doesn't sit right with me. So I'm not sure whether those details are actually accurate. I haven't been able to confirm for myself, so I couldn't find anything on their website. I couldn't find anything in their press release. Neo talks about how he reached out to their online chat, and their online chat did confirm it. Neo also mentioned there's a popular thread on BlowUp that I cannot find right now that talks through people experiencing this with their CSG, and you can see that person in the comments below that I commented on a little bit earlier. So the fact that Neo is saying it, I do believe him because he's quite credible. So it's a bit weird. What do you think about it? Please let me know down in the comments below if you know anyone that's actually gone through the CSG process and what they experienced. Because yes, like I said, if you're sending in a card and it doesn't sell for $10, okay, you shouldn't have sent that card in. But at the same time, who knows what happens with players? What if a player does his ACL? I think Neo gives that example. What if a player gets like an horrific injury, means they have to retire? What if something happens, like an accusation about a player happens in the news, which means nobody wants to buy that player's cards anymore, and then a couple of years later, that player gets exonerated or something along those lines, and it turns out to be false accusations? If you actually bought that card and got it graded yourself, you could sit on it until, good news comes again. But if this process and it doesn't sell, PWCC own that card now. So you're shit out of luck. You've paid money. You've paid money to get the card in the first place. You've paid money to bust the product. You've paid money to get it graded. And now, it's their card. So please, like I said, share your thoughts down on this in the comments below. This was a bonus video for this week. It's going to come out a day earlier than my weekly scheduled video. So I do apologize if you guys are a bit confused. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.